everyone, I am delighted to welcome you all to today's session of DOP. In the last session, we carried out a detailed scanning of our NCERT course books of different classes and different subjects. We analyzed the variety of language texts in our NCERT course books and understood that the reading text of different genres given in all the NCERT course books are rich sources of information that is to be pedagogically treated to create linguistic experiences for our learners. Now let's move on to another session of DOP, which is definitely the continuation of the last one. I welcome Dr. K. N. Anandan to lead the session. He will be sharing with us how DOP approaches the process of reading. I request all the participants to give full attention to his words. We would love to hear from you, sir. Dr. K. N. Anandan, welcome.
Can your student read these passages and comprehend? Because reading implies comprehension.
Only about, let's say 2% or 5% students will do that. Rest all depend on us for the explanation.
So you are trying to tell me that, students are unable to read, most of them, okay?
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Is it
Not
our
read, they
class
can read.
or in-
Comprehension is not there.
Yes, no. So this is very illogical.
Because reading implies comprehension.
So it is really a methodological issue then. Okay? Modern pedagogies believe that, and it is logically true also, reading means reading with comprehension. Otherwise, somebody can claim, my child is studying grade 5, he can read Shakespeare. Reading means making sense of the text. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
So there is a mismatch between the reading process that you are doing in the classroom and helping children to make sense of the text. It's a pedagogical issue. Okay? So anyway, we will take up this issue later. So different types of reading passages are given and people are struggling to read and make sense of it. This is a problem that cuts across all grades, all levels of learners.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Second question, and most important question too, I'm talking from my own experience. I had interacted with many CBSE teachers. Have the students read the textbooks themselves? Do they read the textbooks? Anytime?
Not only language, but other subjects also. Do the mathematics and science teachers focus on their reading comprehension? Because there are passages given of different types. Is it your job or the job of the English teacher? Many teachers have told me, even teachers themselves do not read the textbook. I am not exaggerating. They depend on the solutions. There are NCERT solutions and that kind of solutions, or question banks. Many schools, in Telangana, which I observed, in Kerala, they depend only on the question banks. And every day they will be asking questions, children they keep on writing answers like that, because the target is examination. Target is examination, getting high scores, not anything else, not the knowledge systems that are incorporated into these textbooks. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the issues, the academic issues are much more than you have just reported yesterday when you started telling about the problems. I'll tell you an example. I was visiting one of the schools in Telangana in Hasanbati, Warangal district, one of the school. So there's a question, how to create a triangle from a line segment. Did you get my question? Any mathematics teacher tell me how a triangle is built from a line or line segment. What is the process, that children follow? Or that is given in the textbook.
Myself, Tabassum Sultana,
Yeah, please continue.
teaching mathematics at Sultanul Public School, Banjara Hills. To construct a triangle, first of all, we will draw a line segment, suppose 5 centimeter, and we name it as AB. Then with A as center and suppose 4 centimeter is the radius, we draw an arc using compass, and then with B as center and radius suppose 6 centimeter, we draw another arc intersecting the previous arc, and we mark the point of intersection as C, and then we join A to C and B to C to complete the triangle.
Exactly. So this is the, the steps to be followed. And the children were doing exactly. So I asked one of the girls, okay, it's a girls' school. You have created a triangle above the line segment. Will you get the same result if you draw it below the line segment? She told me, no, you have to draw above the line segment alone. Second question, why are you drawing two arcs from, the two points, Why are you creating an arc? Only when you create an arc, you get the intersection point. But why are you creating an arc? Tell me.
To get the third point.
Yeah. So, then why did that student respond to me this way? That you will not get the same kind of triangle if you draw below the segment. Is it possible to draw a triangle below the line segment also?
Yes, it is possible.
So the arc means because you are using the one point as a center. So the distance is the same everywhere. Yeah. So
yes,
the child will score full mark for attempting this question. But has she developed conceptual understanding?
Don't you think there are similar problems in all subjects? There are science teachers here. A question to the science teacher. Or any teacher who teaches science in classes 1 to 8. We teach respiration, the process of breathing in and breathing out. So could some teacher tell us, how do you teach this topic?
The air you take in and also the air you breathe out. Just tell me.
Inhaling of oxygen and exhaling of carbon dioxide is a process, respiratory system is this, no, sir?
Exactly.
Explain,
yeah, very, it's a science concept, You are inhaling oxygen and you are exhaling, breathing out carbon dioxide. Good. I asked a question to a teacher, okay? She said this concept exactly as you said. I said, okay, you are breathing out air, okay? And you are taking in air and breathing out. So what will be the dominant gas in the air that you breathe out? This was my question. I repeat my question. What will be the dominant gas that you will be breathing out? No. You are breathing in oxygen, it's a gas. Okay? And you are breathing out carbon dioxide, that is also a gas.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So what will be the dominant major gas that you breathe out?
Nitrogen.
Carbon.
Nitrogen. Yeah, see, there's a dispute now. So many teachers
Carbon.
told me it will be carbon dioxide. See, is it a scientific answer? The air you take in, the dominant gas is nitrogen. Only the oxygen component changes. So you teach science, you score mark, but you don't develop scientific concepts. You do not have a scientific temperament. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the students. They get the mark, they score the in examination, but they don't have a scientific temperament, a scientific perception on the process. Do you agree with me? Because you forget, okay, that doesn't change. The nitrogen component doesn't change. So the dominant gas will continue to be nitrogen. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So why I'm saying these examples? Because first of all, several students they have a textbook, but then they find it difficult to read and comprehend themselves. And they always depend upon shortcuts like looking for question banks or memorizing some, information, or, depending on, the online class, or they depend on NCERT solutions, and all the problems are taken up. Okay? I observed some of the NCERT solutions. See, the teacher, the instructor will be reading out the passage and translating into the mother tongue. Maybe the whole text is narrated in Hindi or the regional language. And then the focus is on the exercises, the solutions. The solutions are there because solutions are there for the examination purpose. Okay, so my original statement, all the textbooks deal with language. If you are using English as a medium of instruction, the reading passages are written in English, okay? And there are different types of reading passages in the textbooks. So don't you think it is necessary for the teacher to understand the different language types used for preparing lessons for learners? Why should you think that your duty or role is to just to teach the lesson? But why don't you put yourself at a higher level? Okay, my job is to create lessons for children. I am going to develop lessons for my students on any topic that you are teaching. So from the level of teachers who are developing lesson plans, I want the teachers to be elevated to the level of creators of textbooks, creators of material, readable material for different levels of students.
Dear all, we have realized that the reading text or the language text given in our NCERT coursebooks are rich, linguistic as well as conceptual inputs, and they are to be treated seriously. Then how can we lead our learners to read these texts by themselves? How can we engage them in meaningful reading without any distractions? Actually, reading is an independent activity that individual will pursue on their own interest. But for reading as a part of learning, we have to instill curiosity and interest in our learners. It's absolutely true that this is a challenging task for our teachers. So many questions will come to our mind. How can we create a need in our learners to take up the reading task? How can we cater to individual differences in reading or learning? How can we provide them a space and listen to multiple perspectives on the content? How can we enable them to construct knowledge based on the content and the context? As a way out, we have to be pedagogically conscious of the process of reading, which involves a number of microprocesses. So let's see how DOP envisages reading process.
The reading passages in the textbooks are to be properly used. I don't mean to say that the teacher has to read out sentence by sentence and explain everything. That's not the point. But we have to use these materials as reference material for the learners and reading material for the learners, which contain lots of information. It's a very rich source of input. What the teacher says will dissolve in the air, but the printed material will remain. But the major barrier that the teacher has to overcome is that how do we ensure comprehension? Children have no ownership on these passages. So the challenge is, how do we generate these ideas, the ideas contained in the passages, as mental text of the learners? We need to go for something like a trigger activity. You can use a picture or a video clipping or a small experiment, okay, whatever, as a trigger that can initiate perceptual thinking. I am using the trigger activity as an analogy of a loaded gun and its trigger. A loaded gun cannot fire by itself. Somebody has to pull the trigger. Like that, the human mind is capable of thinking, analyzing, but the thinking process is to be initiated. When you start explaining something, okay, well, children may be listening to you, and there is no guarantee that everyone will be with you. Their minds will be wandering. Unstructured thought process happen always. So how do you block the unstructured thinking process of the learners and streamline thought process to a certain target? Here the target is the reading passage. So when you are showing a picture or a video clipping, using it as a trigger, it takes care of perceptual thinking. And even if the learner wants, he cannot escape from the perceptual thinking. It's a subconscious process. And teacher can ask specific questions to take out what they think about the thing that has been shown. We have to take out their perceptions, and we have to connect this with their experience. So with the trigger you are using, you can use three kinds of questions. One, questions that addressing their perception. Second, questions that connect to their experience. And three, questions that are related to the topic presented in the passages. So you are interacting with the learners, okay? And interaction for us means dialoguing with the learners. We are familiar with the word interaction, but what do we mean by that? Does it mean asking a number of questions that elicit divergent responses from the students? Of course, we ask questions that demand free responses. Or is it something more than that? In DOP, interaction is interpreted, construed as dialoguing with the learners. On the one side, there is the teacher, and on the other side, there are the students. And the process of dialoguing begins. Suppose a student says, this is a triangle. The teacher reports it. She says that this is a triangle. This is reported. You can report using other tense forms also. She said that this is a triangle. Or she says that this is a triangle. Another device is asking for agreement.
She says that this is a triangle. Do all of you agree with her? Or asking for opinion? Does anyone have any other idea? Do you want to say something different? What is your idea? You can be also seeking confirmation. You are saying that this is a triangle, aren't you? We seek confirmation by asking a question, by adding a question tag. You said that this is a triangle, didn't you? Different question tags can be used. Or it can be also seeking explanation. Well, you are saying that this is a triangle. Why do you think so? Why are you saying so? Please explain your point to the whole class. Now, why are we going for this kind of language activity? By virtue of interaction, the whole class will have ownership on the ideas that are generated.
You keep asking questions so that some of the ideas related to the topic will be emerging and it can be captured on the whiteboard in the form of a concept map or a graphical organizer, whichever mode you use, but it has to be in an organized manner. And based on this concept map, children can work in groups and develop the ideas and make an oral presentation on that. After that, they can read the passage to check out whether all the information has been covered or not. So you have to engage children in a reading activity where they have the space to read and try to understand individually and also share their reading experience with their peers. This will guarantee, proper understanding of the topic. And this is how you use the reading materials in the science classroom or mathematics classroom, in all subjects for that matter.
We know that the textbook contains information, lots and lots of information. We also know that the information by itself doesn't become knowledge. So we have to lead the student through a process where the information given in the textbook becomes the constructs of the learners. This is why we are going for generating mental text. Because we never know what reality is. The leading psychologist Jerome Bruner talks about this, how constructs are formed. Let us listen to Jerome Bruner.
Jerome Bruner was one of the biggest influences on me and continues to be. His ideas were seminal in changing American psychology, changing American education.
I respect a teacher who can ask interesting questions and who has the patience to watch somebody attempt to discover an answer to them. And that's what Squeak is about. We'll never know how the world really is. We always have to construct what we think the world is. We do it in describing the human situation by telling stories. We do it in science. We do it in interesting kinds of ways of thinking of new images and so forth. So my passion has basically got to do with how human minds make this sort of reality.
Maintaining contact.
Alan started being interested in how you teach kids at least 25 years ago. He didn't talk about it as publicly then because he was supposed to be in the computer business, but he's always been interested in this. He's always wanted to talk about it. This is nothing new. I know Alan. You get into a conversation and 5 minutes later you find yourself talking about how you can present something to kids.
We realized that if we were really going to tie children's deep learning, where we wanted the children to really spend hours of passionate self-investigation on stuff, then we were going to have to give these different types of children, which we did not have good, really great categorizations of even today.
Well, nobody has a good typology of children.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
And
kind of, some, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they're one kind of kid. Never mind.
Yeah. So our idea was we have to make something that is that basically starts from art.
Understanding is like discovering. And it's that I just love about the way in which Alan and his Squeak project operates.
The trigger activity for perpetual thinking, displaying a theme-related picture, video tip activity, experiment. Eliciting perceptions, their understanding, their prediction, etc. Developing an appropriate graphical organizer as a whole class activity. Concept map, flowchart, fishbone diagram, etc. Working in groups to develop more ideas based on the graphical organizer. Oral presentation of shared understanding from group. Reading the text to check out whether all the information has covered or not. Individual reading. Sharing their reading experiences with peers for proper understanding of the topic. Extrapolating the text. Asking analytical and critical questions. Giving teacher's version.
Instead of reading this textbook, children have to create, these different types of passages. This is the objective of DOP. How do you help learners at any level to evolve as creative writers of, literature? You can call it children's literature. And I also want to see the teachers evolving to a level of, writers who produce excellent reading material for the learners, including, using different formats like narratives, conversations, everything, to deal with very heavy topics like, scientific concepts, mathematical topics, and so on.